about the way in which it is. If you're a top side, which they are, go and win that match and go and win the game against Brighton.
I don't know how much of you saw of it. I didn't see much, but Manchester City at Wolves.
I watched quite a bit of it.
Well, clearly it was a scare. So, what did you see?
I mean, Wolves, to be fair, I have to say I've watched them a couple of times and I thought they're in real trouble. I think that they're really struggling, but I think Gary O'Neill will be. I think he'll be enthused by today. I think he'll be happier with what he saw, but I think he'll be absolutely devastated at the end. I did agree with the decision that Bernardo Silva wasn't interfering with the goalkeeper on the John Stones header. So we obviously came up here, we watched that, didn't we, with Mike, and we were looking at the screens and we were thinking, oh, is he in front? He's clever, Bernardo Silva, he has that little lean into him, but then I think he leaves and the goalkeeper has a chance to reset himself. And then I think that the ball just basically, obviously goes past the goalkeeper. It's a great header from John Stones. But it's 2 important goals from John Stones, isn't it, in the last month? Incredible that, I always feel, maybe they're that type of team. They've built up that sort of feeling about it. Remember the goal last year that they scored at Newcastle late on? It was Oscar Bob, wasn't it, I think? And I remember watching that in January or February, whenever it was that they scored that goal, and thinking, oh, here we go again, they're going to win the league here. It's moments like that, even this early, which make you just think, because they're the moments where you think, well, if City don't win that game late on, then they dropped 2 points at Wolves, which I would not have expected. So I think they'll be absolutely ecstatic. Well, they were. We saw them at the end celebrating, didn't we, the City players and Pep Guardiola and the fans over on that far side. It's a big win for City because, look, we know they're brilliant. We know they're fantastic. They've got a great manager, but still coming out for the back of international football, having been there at United all those years and getting everyone back together. I always remember Sir Alex would say, get your heads are full of mince when you come back from international football. You've all been listening to different instructions from different managers in different parts of the world. You've all got on different planes, come back at different times, and you're all basically disconnected. And so you'd come back maybe for the Friday morning. I know City is playing on a Sunday today, so you have an extra day to prepare, which is important. But sometimes you can get back on a late Thursday or a Friday, and you can end up basically just training maybe one session together before the match. And he would say each time that, it's difficult. He would recognise that in us, and he'd say, look, I'm relying upon you today to get your heads right, because he knew that there would been distraction. There has been distraction of another set of football tactics and style and teammates for the previous 10 days. So, yeah, I think that what City have done today is get over the line, which is what they do. And, well done to them for that.
Yeah, and probably one of those we'll remember in May. If they're the ones walking up to pick up the trophy, we'll remember that Wolves game. And
you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, there was a mention, I think, today, would these two teams win the title? I don't think so. But what Liverpool are doing defensively at the moment is interesting, but I'd like to sort of assess it at Christmas. I still think that they're short. I do feel like they're short. I feel like Chelsea obviously are short. They're not going to win the league. I think that Arsenal are the only team that can really sort of take on City. But you've got to be in front of them. You've got to be close to them, and you can't afford to fall too many points behind.
Which makes, and let's finish on this, throwing it forward, next week's game, Arsenal-Liverpool, an absolute monster. Yeah. Arsenal, of course, without Saliba.
Yeah, without Saliba. But again, I'm not. We cannot. We had the excuse, didn't we, a couple of years ago when Saliba wasn't playing in the final matches, and sort of that was seen and accepted that he's a big loss. But you've added players to the squad to be able to deal with that. You can't be one player away of having a one-match ban and thinking, basically the level can go from here to here when you're looking to win a title. You have to remain consistent and reliable if you do get an injury. We've seen City without Haaland and without De Bruyne for, big parts of seasons, and they've still got by. We've seen them get by, and, I know that they're a sort of machine City at this moment in time, but I've got a lot of confidence in Arsenal. I've got a lot of love for the way in which they've sort of developed as a team over the last 2 years. When they came here 18 months ago, whenever it was, when they came here and they found it really difficult and it started to fall apart for them in that title running, and they froze in that last part of the season, there's no doubt about that. They're a different set of players and they're a different level and a different level of belief than where they were. And this is now next week whereby we can't be talking about, oh, so-and-so's not playing, or he's not playing. We're not interested. We're not interested. There's been a lot of money. There's been a lot of improvement. Now's the time to go and show it. And they're still in with a chance, a big chance. It's very early in the season. So next Sunday, big test for Liverpool and a big obviously, well, not question about Arsenal, but a big, question about Arsenal without Saliba, because he seems to have been ever present for like an age now.
And that'll give us something to talk about a week from now.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Thank you,
Peter.
Wolves versus Man City live. Premier League result and reaction as John Stones nets winner in late drama. Manchester City were rescued by John Stones, whose late winner secured a 2-1 win on their travels to Wolves in the Premier League. City dominated possession and looked to push the struggling Midlands side deep into their own half. From the start, Pep Guardiola's team looked to take control, but they were hit on the break and surprisingly went behind in the 7th minute. Huge Bueno switched the ball out to the right wing, where Nelson Semedo brought it under control and swept up the pitch. He curled a lovely pass into the far side of the box, and Jorgen Strand Larsen was waiting for a tap-in. Wolves then looked to dig in and limit the space for City's free-flowing forwards. They were limited to shots from range, despite 218 touches in Wolves' final third in the first half alone. One of those shots got through, Josko Gvardiol getting forward and lacing a curling right foot finish into the far top corner. City threw attacking wave after attacking wave at the Wolves' defence, boosted by second half substitutes Phil Foden and Jack Grealish. But there was no way through until Stones met Foden's corner kick and nodded home to win the defending champions all 3 points. Relive updates from the Premier League clash below as Wolves host Man City.